Well, hello, and welcome to the Reston Association's 2018 Board of Directors at-large 3-year Candidates Forum. I'm Karen Anton, Chair of the Reston Association Elections Committee and the moderator for this evening's forum. Thank you all for attending tonight, and thank you to those who are watching online. This month, the citizens of Reston will elect 4 Reston Association board members, 3 at-large directors, 2 for terms of 3 years each, and 1 for a term of 1 year, and 1 director from the South Lakes District. RA board members determine the association's goals and policies, making an important and lasting contribution to the community. Especially now, as Reston is entering a challenging phase of significant growth and change, the RA board is positioned to make a lasting impact on the future of Reston. There are 7 candidates to my left seeking one of the 2 open seats for the at-large 3-year position on the RA board. Derek Watkins, Sridhar Ganesan, Aaron Webb, Travis Johnson, John Pinkman, Colin Mead, and Ben Iyer. Please welcome the candidates. I'd also like to acknowledge members of the Elections Committee who are here tonight. If you are a member of the Elections Committee, please stand. In the back of the room, we have Ed Abbott and Mike Martin. In front, we have Bill Krieger. Our 5th member, Mike Gandolfo, could not be present tonight. In order to have an election, there must be a vote of the members. Based on the methodology set forth in the association's governing documents, voting by the members must be done by referendum. As such, whether running contested or uncontested, annually the association's members have the right and the sole responsibility for electing directors to the board. I mention this as it is important that you, the members, participate in the election by casting your vote, either online or by mail. A quorum of 10% of voters must be achieved in each of the 3 races to be valid. This evening, we will have an opportunity to learn about each of the candidates' positions on various issues of importance to our community. There are several ways to ask the candidates about the issues that matter most to you. On your seat, you are provided with a form to pose a written question to the candidates. Members of the Elections Committee and staff will be collecting these questions from the audience throughout the evening and grouping them by theme. We will also be taking questions from the audience. Additionally, at this event, as this event is being live streamed via the association's YouTube channel, our Elections Committee will be receiving questions in real time from RA's Facebook and Twitter accounts and via email. So let's begin with the opening remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening remark. Derek will speak first, and we will move down the table to the right. Once each candidate has made his opening remarks, the forum discussion will begin. Candidates, please remember we have members of the Elections Committee, a member of the Elections Committee, Mr. Bill Krieger, sitting right there in the front row, who is our timer for this evening. A little bit about the timer. It is going to be green for the first 45 seconds, 1 minute and 45 seconds in this case. It will turn to yellow at the 15-second mark, and it will turn to red at the 5-second mark. So when you see the yellow, start to wrap up. When you see the red, really start to wrap up. Okay. So, Derek, let's start with you.
Hello, my name is Derek Watkins. I've lived in Reston for 4 years now. I work as an aircraft mechanic. My job is troubleshooting and repairing airplanes, keeping them safe and on time. I'm in the airline business. Reston is awesome, quite simply because of its people. It's a very interesting and diverse population. It includes all kinds of ethnic and economic backgrounds, all age groups. It's a sprawling urban center, but somehow it's maintained its nature, which is really cool. If I'm elected, my sole mission and purpose is to listen to you, the people. I want to serve the people's interests and not my own. I want to be Reston's advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Sridhar.
Good evening. First, my thanks to the Reston Association staff and the Elections Committee for organizing this forum, and to you, the members who are here. as well as the people watching on YouTube. I'm Sridhar Ganesan. I'm the treasurer and a director on RA board right now. I've lived in Reston for over 19 years and have over 20 years of financial, operational, and executive leadership experience. 7 years ago, I committed to take more time to serve the public, to get into public service, and I now serve on the Fairfax County Public Schools Budget Task Force. As president of Reston Citizens Association, I oppose rezoning Reston National Golf Course for development, oppose paid parking in town center, opposed increasing PRC density limit from 13 persons per acre to 16, among many other issues. I was appointed treasurer in May 2017 and immediately began to deal with the issues that Stone Turn Report highlighted on the Tetra debacle. I spent hundreds of hours digging into RA operations and its restructuring. Some of my accomplishments are, for the first time ever, your assessments were lowered. We had more public budget sessions than ever before. I'm leading the establishment of internal controls, policies, procedures to avoid a repeat of Tetra. I moved RA towards rigorous, analytical approach for programs and capital projects, and I reconstituted the fiscal committee for stronger engagement. I want to finish what I started 8 months ago to make RA operate better for the benefit of its members, working with users of ball fields, tennis courts, and pools, as well as other member groups. I would like to finish a comprehensive analysis of amenities and update our needs. I also want to make sure that RA is a strong leader that reflects the community concerns on the density limit.
Thank you, Sridhar.
Thank you for the support.
Thank you. Aaron.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Like you, Reston's very important to me. I've lived here for about 10 years now, maybe more than that, and I have the same concerns that you do about the future of our community. And my recent experience working on the Hook Road Recreation Committee has kind of prompted me to run for the board. In fact, it was during one of those meetings I found a flyer sitting in the side of the room, and it was kind of a knee-jerk response. But it's been very fun working with fellow community members. I had a lot of fun as a member of the board of our cluster. That's kind of where I got my feet wet. Ended up serving as president on the cluster for a while, and it was so enjoyable finding ways to make sure everyone's viewpoint was heard and considered, and that we could reach as a community solutions to the problems that will inevitably face us. And so that's why I'm running for the Reston board, is I want to participate in this wonderful thing that is Reston. Reston can continue to lead out in other communities as we find solutions to the challenges that we'll face, novel solutions. We have some of the brightest people in the world living in our community. As we all get engaged and work together, we can find wonderful solutions and lead forward and kind of show the world what a community can be when they all pull together. And so my goal in serving on the board of directors would be to serve thoughtfully and to contribute to this wonderful thing that is called Reston. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis.
Thank you to the RA and to the election committee for hosting this event tonight. It's very important that the members. Thank you to the RA and the election committee for hosting this event tonight. It's very important that the members be as fully informed as possible about the operations of the Reston Association. I'm in this race because I want the people of Reston to be able to look to the Reston Association with confidence. Confidence that the organization is being soundly managed with transparency and accountability by a board of directors that is trying to keep your assessments low by being good stewards of our shared resources and our values. Those values, our love of nature, our commitment to diversity, and community engagement are, I believe, what tie us together here in this beautiful town. And I believe that they are what will help us address our current problems and carry us into a brighter future. Our shared love of nature should drive us to put an end to plans to replace our beloved open spaces with more tightly packed developments. Our commitment to embracing diversity should encourage us to reach out and ensure that no voice in this community goes unheard. And we should respect our highly engaged community by keeping them in the loop on what decisions the association is making, why they are being made, and how they're being implemented. I love Reston. I want Reston and the values it embodies to be a place my children, your children, and their children will call home. If, together, we roll up our sleeves and do the hard work necessary to govern the association according to those values, we can make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Travis. John?
We've lived here for over 40 years. I've spent 36 of them as coaching children from 4 to 84. I'm recently co-founder of Rescue Reston, and we've been pretty busy lately. Living, working, and playing here, you get to know families. As we began our professional instruction 25 years ago, we quickly learned that there was value in asking two questions. What do you need? How can we help? No one ever came in and asked me to make them a professional ball player, at least not the parents. Families have a broad range of goals, but we all unite around shared values: safety, honesty, opportunity, and education. As directors, we are charged with helping to build what is rapidly becoming a city with 2 subway stops and a downtown. At the same time, maintain the values that brought Reston to this point. I've spent my decades here working for Parks and Recreation, coaching, and lately organizing to stave off the external greed of developers who care more about their yearly profits than about Reston's past or Reston's future. I moved my family here in the 70s because I love the Reston spirit. We need to unite that spirit. We will benefit from listening to each other. By working as a team, we can provide that leadership that reflects both individual reasons and shared community values of why we all moved here.
Thank you, John. Colin?
Hi, I'm Colin Mead. First, thank you, Karen, and thanks to the Elections Committee for hosting this, and thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know there's lots of things you probably could be doing on a Monday evening, so I appreciate that you're here with us. So I'm a lifelong Northern Virginia resident from the east side of the county, but as my wife and I were starting our family and really planning where we'd like to put roots down and settle, we were drawn to Reston for several reasons. I mean, it's a great example of suburban planning. The schools are great. There's so much green space. And we've been here 5 years now in 2 different houses, and it's really proven to be probably the best decision that we've made as a couple in our lives. And we've really tried to take full advantage of everything that Reston and the RA has to offer the community here. And my 2 boys who are in the back of the room there, they're 5 and 4. We've really tried to immerse them in the Reston experience and get very involved through RA Fit Kids and some of the other enrichment programs that the RA has offered, and it's proven to be great for them. They've really enjoyed it. Over the past few months, the funding for some of those programs has been cut. And so really that's what sparked me to get involved and run for the RA board so that I can be a voice for the families of Reston. My goal is to go out into the communities and hear folks that, are my age and younger, but also older, and really get their thoughts. So that's really why I'm wanting is to represent families on the board of the Reston Association. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin. Ben?
Good evening, Reston. My name is Ven Ayer. I've enjoyed living in Reston near Lake End for 9 years. I have a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering and a master's degree in computer science. I'm the president of a small and minority-owned technology company. Reston has been instrumental in my personal and professional life. I'm grateful to this country. It has facilitated everything I've achieved, and that makes me want to give back even more. I've actively participated in the prevention of St. John's Wood high-rises, Hook Road full facility rebuild, paid parking at Reston Town Center, Fairfax County zoning changes, and the density cap increase. The biggest concern for the Reston community posed by RA is from its behavior of wasteful spending and lack of transparency. I want to stop the wasteful spending on projects members clearly have expressed that they do not want. Examples are the Hook Road full facility rebuild, which is invasive on neighbors and nature, the glossy magazine with outrageous costs, and a $100,000 RA website with a terrible user experience. I want to assure you that if I'm on the board, I will further member interest by working with the board members using facts, compassion, and logic for more member inclusion, two-way communications, and I want more effective audits, and I want to stop the groupthink mode. I will remind the board that they operate with the members' money and trust, and they must be cognizant of that. Another threat to the Reston community is from Fairfax County developers and others set to benefit from the increased development. I will advocate member interest with Fairfax County in that any zoning changes must be accompanied with planned growth and infrastructure changes and without any threat to Reston's open and green space. Thank you.
Thank you, Vin. The Elections Committee has prepared a warm-up question for the candidates. Candidates will be given 1 minute to answer the question. Derek, we started with you for the opening remarks, so then we're going to start with you for the warm-up question, and then move back up the table this way towards Derek. Here is the question. One of Reston Association's core values is stewardship, namely of its financial resources. In your opinion, how best can Reston Association reduce its costs while continuing to serve the best interests of its members?
I want to stop the wasteful spending on projects members have clearly expressed they do not want. I spoke about that in my opening statement. That opens up monies for the safety and maintenance of existing facilities. That should be a priority. You will hear during this election cycle that for the first time in RA's history, the 2018 assessments were lowered, except it is not true. If you take out the component of additional revenue brought by new members, then you will see that the 2018 assessments, it was not the case. Now, this in itself may not be important, but this shows to you that the board has been operating in a little bit of a dogmatic mode, which is never good in finance, to try to lower your assessments. Another example was using $2.42 million of the members' reserve money to simply reduce your assessments by a mere $8.66. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Colin.
So I'm of the opinion that really the main function of the board is to serve the community in Reston. And if that includes cutting costs, so be it, but I think really the emphasis should be on providing quality services for the community within a reasonable assessment. As Ven touched on, the assessment was lowered by $10 this past year, but that did come with the decrease in services as well. So my goal as a board member really is to be out in the community, listening to families, listening to residents, and see where they want the monies that they're paying every year to the RA to be spent and what their priorities are. And I also feel like we can do a better job on collecting non-assessment dues through better marketing and better efforts in the community to make them aware of everything that Reston has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. John.
The key phrase in that question to me is how to serve the best interests of its members. To me, the core value of Reston Association is protecting and enhancing property values. We are not a little place called Reston anymore. We have competitor towns and villages. Reston is unique. The question we all face is how do we keep it that way? Who decides what's the best interest in our town? The RA board, the people we represent, perhaps both. The Reston Association leaders, as Reston Association leaders, we need to understand the neighborhood leaders' vision of the future. I'm proposing an annual leadership summit between RA directors and staff and leaders from the 180 Reston neighborhoods. We need to listen to each other's ideas and challenges. RA needs to hear from people who face very local challenges.
Sean, I'm sorry, your time is up. I'm sorry. Travis.
I think the best answer to that question is simply to manage and lead well. I have over 15 years of experience in project management. I think that in order to make sure that we're managing our resources, we need to have clearly defined processes and projects. Every project that the board approves should have a clear beginning, middle, and end. And that middle should be filled with constant oversight that we, that's in which we also have milestones, in which we use milestones to manage progress. And when the people who are implementing our decisions report back to us, we need to report back to you all and make sure that the membership is well aware of how our projects are going. And I think that's the best way for us to manage the financial resources, and that's to just be good managers.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you. Aaron.
So regarding the question of how to reduce costs and still serve the best interests of the members, I think that's why we have a diverse board, so that we can gather up those differing viewpoints and get it all in one place and debate the facts that underlie the challenges that we face. That's why we have committees full of volunteers. And so encouraging that, I think, is one of the best ways to help make sure we're focused on the things that we need to be focused on, whether that's reducing cost or increasing amenities. We also need to make sure that our decisions are based on core principles. There were 7 core principles outlined at the beginning of Reston. I think they've served Reston very well. And some of them we know off by heart, about live and work in the same place. And I think driving by those core principles will get us to where we need to go and continue to serve us well into the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Sridhar.
Good. So costs include operating expenses as well as capital investments. An obvious direction is to reduce spending where you can. This year we reduced the legal costs as well as employee-related costs, which employee-related costs are about 75% of operating expenses. But I want to make a point. In the last 43 years, the number of units have gone up 30 times in Reston Association's history. And 23 of those years, assessments went up. In the remaining 13 years, it was basically unchanged or declined marginally. 12 of those 13 years, assessments went up. I can tell you assertively, this is the first year assessments actually were brought down. In fact, 2 years ago, we added 385 units, and we still did not reduce the assessment. So I just want to make that point. Second thing, we reduced all these costs. We brought back the pool hours. We reduced the assessment, but we also increased the pool hours, brought it back to 2016. So we'll continue to look at cost efficiencies, those kinds of
I'm sorry,
things.
your time is up. Derek?
Okay. RA needs more transparency in its budget. The primary way to reduce costs is to facilitate transparent and competitive bidding. Anytime RA outsources work, businesses need to fight for your money. That's the way you get more out of our money. We need to use our resources better. So the assessments that we pay every year are not wasted, and we get as much possible for as little amount of money as possible. We're all adults. We all have to pay for our living. And the way we do that is get as much as we can for as little money as possible. It's simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, now for questions posed by our audience this evening. As mentioned earlier, questions have been coming in from RA members via email, Twitter, and you, the audience here this evening. We also welcome live questions from the audience. If you would like to ask a question to the candidate, please raise your hand and a member of the Elections Committee will provide you with a microphone. Please note the rules for questions from members printed on your agenda. Questions must be relevant for all candidates. Members posing questions live at the event have 10 seconds in which to ask their question. Questions must be posed in the form of a question as opposed to a statement and must be open-ended. Questions may not be repeated. No question constituting a personal attack on any candidate shall be allowed. In the absence of questions from members, the Elections Committee will pose questions prepared in advance by the committee. So candidates, I'll now outline the rules for the debate, the forum. I prefer to say forum. The moderator will provide each candidate the opportunity to answer one question first, and we're going to start in the order that you are seated and on the ballot. Following the order. The candidate speaking first will have 60 seconds to respond to the question. All subsequent responses are optional and will also be limited to 60 seconds. Candidates wishing to respond to a question should raise his hand to be called on by me. Every candidate may respond a maximum of one time to each question. Once a candidate has posed his response to the question, a candidate will not be permitted to speak again until the next question is asked. And Bill will be timing you as he has been already. Do you have any questions about the format for this evening? Okay. I will move on to the first question, and Derek will start with you, as I said. Based on the information readily available to most RA members, differentiating amongst competing candidates can often be a challenge. By now, you have had time to review and analyze the qualifications and positions of your opponents. Please provide 3 succinct ways you differ from your opponent or opponents.
Okay. Unlike most people at this table, I'm a blue-collar worker. Like I said, I'm an aircraft mechanic. I've never been a board member. I'm not running as a part of a pack of 4 members, like some people here. Those are my 3 ways.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Who else would like to respond to this question? Sridhar.
So I've been on the board for the last 8 months. I have accomplished, I believe, a lot of different things. Came in after the Stone Turn report, came out, and I've been leading the establishment of internal controls, policies, and procedures. I'm bringing substantial due diligence on contracts, agreements, and I've spent hundreds of hours doing these things, volunteering my time on the board as treasurer. And that is leading to some very good decisions. Part of that was lowering the assessments, lowering different types of costs that from an RA operations. And I'm continuing to do different things. One of the example is, bringing a very rigorous and analytical approach to programs and capital projects. You saw the Pony Bond project. It started out with $380,000 budget. And now, we have something that is getting implemented, much better design at a much lower cost. Why did that happen? Because we went into it in substantially more detail than it has been done in the past. And that's an example of the types of things that I've been doing.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to respond? Aaron.
So as you've noticed already, you really can't go wrong in our election this year. There's some fantastic people that love Reston and are working hard. What sets me apart a little bit is, first, I have 2 A's in my name, so I come at the first of the alphabet when sorted alphabetically by first name. I'm also a physicist by education and an idealist. And so I tend to balance the deep analytical, data-driven decisions with a starry-eyed dreamer of how wonderful things could be if we only try. And I think that kind of sets me apart a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Just let Bill get a chance to reset here. Okay. Travis, did you want to respond?
Well, 3 things. One, I come to this from a background of government consulting. I'm sure several of these folks do as well. But from my perspective, I work on a daily basis at the crux of government and private industry, and I think that's what Reston Association is as well. We're a quasi-governmental organization since we have a community of about 60,000 people, and at the same time, we're a homeowners association. So I, on a daily basis, balance, walk that knife's edge, and I think that I can bring that to this job as well. Secondly, I'm a father, and I spend a great deal of time with Reston families. I participate in Reston soccer with my daughter. I participate in theater organizations with my other daughter, and I don't tell any kids, but I dress up as Santa at some people at the school my wife teaches at. So I am firmly entrenched in what the community does.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Dan, did I see your hand go up? Okay. Oh, Colin?
So, I'd like to, I think, at this table here, everybody really wants the best for Reston, and I'm competing against these guys, but I don't feel like I'm necessarily running against them, so to speak. What I'd really like to differentiate, maybe if I could flip the question just a little bit, is how I differentiate from the current board. And really, I'm running to bring a bit of a breath of fresh air and a bit of a younger perspective to the board. Again, I have young children, and I've been in Reston 5 years, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not that long. So I can't say that I'm necessarily immersed in, the minutia of every board meeting that's taken place over the last 5 years. But I do bring an abundance of common sense and a willingness to listen to the community, particularly the families there. So that's what I look to bring to the board.
Thank you, Colin. And Ben? Yeah.
I'm running.
Time's up.
I'm running an independent and self-funded campaign, and only the grassroots members can say that about themselves. And I really respect those candidates. But then we are also seeing candidates running in a slate that is a highly cohesive group of individuals seeking consensus over disagreement and discussion. And I don't think this membership deserves poor decisions coming out of that. I'm running again this year because my message was vetted in large numbers and supported. I came a close second with 117 votes less in an election that saw over 8,500 votes, and I feel I have a duty to do. And that's how I feel I can differentiate myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Van. Okay, John?
Living here for 40 years, the organization used to be called ROA. In fact, I think a lot of us still call it ROA. And in that time, the times that ROA got in crossways with people that lived here is because we weren't communicating. I teach a course in leadership, mostly to athletes. And the first thing an athlete that defines an athlete is he has to have followers. And the way we obtain followers, the way we lead, is by communicating great ideas and getting a consensus of where to go. So you're going to hear me talk about this a lot because I really believe in figuring out where people want to go and helping them get there.
Thank you, John. Okay. All right. The next question, Sridhar, I'm going to be asking this of you. The topic is facilities and capital spending. How will you address the need to balance funding our aging parks and rec facilities, for example, pools, pathways, pavilions, with keeping HOA fees low? Should we be making investments in new facilities or services? Why or why not?
Great question, because that is one of the things I wanted to address as well when I talked about, the costs being partly operating expenses, partly capital expenses. So one of the problems we have is that, most of the assets, the amenities that we have in Reston was given to us for nothing, right in the beginning. Many of them are aging, they need to be replaced, they need to be or updated. The reserve study that we have going back to 2014-15, we are finding out in the last 1 year, that the cost estimates were probably not as high as they should be, as much as they should be. So one of the things we really need to do is, if we want to keep the assessments low, if we want to keep the costs low, we really need to step back as a community and look at this and say that, we have to have a frank and honest discussion on what is it that we want, which is why I've recommended that I'm moving towards sitting down with all the different user groups, ball fields, pools, tennis courts, and deciding, figuring out what we need,
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you, Van. Who else would like to respond to this question? Ben.
As per the capital reserve study, only $122,000 of maintenance budget was set aside for the rec areas. And for example, with the Hook Road, we saw that RA wanted to do a full facility rebuild using those $122,000. Some of the things that were proposed during a focus group study where $50,000 of the $122,000 was spent just to do the study on improvements, improvements like regulation size lacrosse fields, soccer fields with pavilions, concession stands, skateboard park, butterfly park. These are what was suggested. That shows that RA is out of touch with what grassroots members want. And what is going to happen is if we continue to spend like that without paying priority to the safety and maintenance of existing facilities, then either members are going to left holding the bill or some other facility that needs its
Thank
part
you.
of the money is not going to get it.
Thank you, Vin. Would anyone else like, Travis?
I don't want to make new investments randomly. I don't think that's a good idea. From my perspective, I think that if we're going to make new investments, they should be done after we've made an assessment of existing facilities, and those assessments should include discussions, surveys, polls, focus groups with membership to find out exactly what they want and what they need. And I'd also like to make sure that the existing facilities, I'd like to find out if they can be upgraded before I buy anything new. I think that should be our number one priority, is to make sure that what we have works and make sure that what we want to buy meets the needs of our members.
Thank you, Travis. Anybody else? Colin?
So, yeah, it seems to me, particularly with the growth that's coming to Reston, that there's no shortage of people who want to live here, and so whether it be from developers or new residents, assessments should rise in the coming future just by virtue of more people being in Reston, and that money needs to be put into keeping our facilities maintained and up to the expectations that have been set out in Reston's guidelines.
Thank you, Derek.
My take on this is very symptomatic, but very challenging to actually implement. We need some really good community engagement and look at what Reston Association already has and maintains and what's needed of it, and what members actually want, so that the money is being used properly for good quality services. Can't be wasted. We need really good community engagement to see what members actually want out of their annual assessments.
Thank you, Derek. Aaron, did your hand go up? Okay.
So looking back at where some of the facilities came from that we have, one of the core principles was that the commercial, cultural, and recreational facilities will be available at the outset. When Reston was built, it wasn't just a bunch of homes out in the middle of farmland with nothing around it, but it had all these amenities. We should follow the same model. As we go forward and we start to grow into a bigger community that needs a concert venue or something like that, let's not get the people here first and then bring the venue. Let's get it all at about the same time. That's kind of the plan that we've used so far. It's harder to do. You have to think ahead of time. But I think the board can pull that off and prioritize and plan and have a clear vision about where do we want to go and what do we want to become as we move from 50,000 people to 60 to 70 and so on. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. John?
I served on the Hook Road Advisory or Working Group Committee, and I was extraordinarily impressed with the way that Reston Association put that together. I thought they got great input. I thought the consultant did a terrific job expressing what was needed. So I look forward to continuing that process. But the bottom line really for me is that I really appreciate the $10 that we save in our assessments, but I'm not sure I'm willing to sacrifice 5% of my home value to save that $10 of assessment per year.
Thank you. Okay. I think everybody responded, didn't they? All right. Okay, Aaron, the next question will be asked of you. This is about land use. How would you have the Hunter Mills supervisor accord greater import to the RA positions on land use?
That sounds really tricky. Lots of people have been trying, and without much effect. Perhaps the only way to get our message across is at the ballot box. We can do the best that we can and have a loud voice, but really it comes down to the people. If our leaders aren't doing what we'd like them to do, we have to go to the polls and tell them that.
Okay, thank you. John?
Having recent experience with this and raising a couple of $100,000 to try to get that message across, I fully am aware of it's not only one supervisor. There are many other supervisors around, maybe down county, that would rather see some things change in Reston. I did learn very specifically that leading an unknown group of people like Rescue Reston takes a lot of convincing. And one of that convincing is if we all stand together, we're much more effective. Mobilizing and energizing a community comes at certain times to be very, very important. This land use thing, and now you see at Hidden Creek, the plans they have there, it's very important that we communicate clearly what we stand for and what our actions are about to be.
Thank you, John. Sridhar?
Okay, so we have been successful from Reston on 3 different, Reston as well as neighborhood places. First of all, the Reston National Golf Course. We pushed back on the county, we pushed back on the party that was trying to develop the place. That's a success. We pushed back on a septic tank that people were trying to build, the county was trying to bring to Hunter Mill Road. We pushed back, that's gone. St. John's Wood development. Again, we have at least 3 recent successes that we can point to where if we mobilize the people from Reston, we will succeed. And that's one of the points I was making in terms of getting Reston Association to be a very, very strong leader. If Reston Association leads the way, mobilizes all the members, that's 60,000 people. That's the biggest in Hunter Mill District. I think we'll definitely have success. So, of course, we do need to work with the other supervisors as well because we are a vote bank, right? So I think there's definitely ways in which we can do it, even if we don't have control over zoning itself.
Thank you, Sridhar. Anybody else? Yes, Ben?
Any zoning changes must be accompanied with planned growth and infrastructure without threat to Reston's open and green space. And we have to send that clear communication out. The truth of the matter is, when we have our open and green space like our golf courses be threatened by rezoning, that is something that we do not expect, but is threatened by Fairfax County on us. We have to remind Fairfax County, the developers and others who benefit from this increased development, that we have been recognized as a hybrid government in many levels, including courts. And then beyond everything, the most common way people lose power is by thinking they don't have any. And I think we have to mobilize ourselves with the 22,000 number of membership. I think we can put together a very convincing voice to the Fairfax County
Thank you, Ben.
in order to send our message.
Anybody else? Travis?
Yeah, basically, I think we can address it using the value that I talked about earlier at community engagement. I think Reston Association and the Board of Reston Association can go out to the community that we're already talking to now on a daily basis to try to get us to vote for us, to make the case to all of our membership that, we need to get behind protecting our resources, protecting our open spaces. I think we can do that. If we're working together, we all roll up our sleeves and do the hard work necessary to get everybody behind it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question, Travis, this one's for you. It's about diversity and inclusion. I see a visually diverse set of candidates, age, race, but absent women. What would you do to ensure Reston is diverse? Race, religion, sexuality, immigration status, wealth, inclusive, and everyone has a voice that is heard.
Well, firstly, I thought we were asking questions. We weren't asking questions that were designed specifically for our person. However,
I swear I did not plan this. It was the next question up.
You want me to cue that up for you, too?
yeah, I've got it, thank you. As far as being specific to the question about bringing more women into the election, that's something that I found troubling too. Somebody posted on my Facebook page that, wow, there are a lot of men running for this office. Well, where are all the women? I think, the election for South Lakes is we're the only place where we have 2 women running for a seat, and I think that's ridiculous. What I'd like to do as a member of the board is to appoint more women to the unelected places and encourage them to run for these seats when they open up. Because I don't want to see, as much as I like these guys, and I really do, I don't want to see all these guys up here again. I want to see more women here.
So you don't have a binder full of women, do you?
Ooh, little black book.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Who else would like to respond to this question? Yes, Colin.
So that's, diversity is a main reason I'm running. Primarily, I guess, since I'm a white male, diversity of age. I want to bring, again, the perspective of somebody in their 30s, somebody with young children to the board. But I think Reston in general has been built upon diversity, whether it be income levels, races, what have you, and maintaining that type of diversity is crucial as Reston grows and as Northern Virginia becomes more and more expensive, and we get more development here. It's important to maintain those ideals that Reston was founded upon. And I think really the key to that is, again, getting out in the community and making sure that a diverse set of ideas is heard, whether it be income level, age, sex, what have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Sridhar.
Sure. So this is something that I've noticed. I've been in Reston different public forums for a very long time, and I often show up at a meeting and I'm the only non-white guy. So this is a problem, even in Reston. And these days, Ben shows up, so that's good. I've got 2 people there very often. But one of the things I've done when I was the president of RCA was recruited a lot of people to be on the board, and in fact, we got to a point where half the people were women. Half the board members were women. So definitely that's something that we need to focus on. We need to focus on diversity, not just in terms of ethnicity and race, but also in terms of gender as well. And I think Reston Association needs to do more.
Thank you. Ben.
Yeah, one of the things I was worried was that I'm going to be campaigning and Sridhar might get all my votes. But and I wanted to convince people that one of them has the good looks and the other one has good opinions. So feel free to make the good choice. And it could be the case that there's a good mix of both too. What I think is important in order to have more diversity is to encourage more grassroots candidates to run. Last year, the board supported 3 candidates. That entire slate won. This year, the board is openly supporting 4 candidates. And if that is going to be a revolving door of candidates and directors, then that's going to discourage grassroots candidates from running. And I think that is important in order to encourage diversity in the board.
Thank you, Ben. Derek.
I would like to say I am definitely the youngest person here, so that's a diverse perspective. Just to be a candidate, there was no institutional hurdles. All I did is fill out an application and get a petition filled out in my spare time. The only thing we could really do to help diversity is make Reston Association more relevant in people's lives, so people are interested and then in turn want to be a part of Reston Association governance. There's no institutional hurdles, it's just we need to get people interested in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Anybody else want to respond? Yes, Aaron.
I'd like to kind of springboard off of what Derek said. It wasn't too hard. I mean, it was rainy. The 2 nights I went around with my little petition to get my 25 signatures, and I tried to convince most of the people that I went to their door that they should run instead of me. I tried with my wife, that didn't work either. I also invited a lot of people to come down here. We're an interesting group because we're interested enough to spend Monday night, and these other 6 guys are interested enough in Reston to decide to spend, every fourth Thursday or whatever it is, and then all the other hours that we're going to have to spend. But in order to increase diversity, we just have to get the people around us as excited as we are. It's not something I think the board can do on their own. We kind of all have to do it together. I'm not very good at it. Like I said, I didn't get any of the people I invited to come tonight to come, other than my wife and my son. But I'm trying, and I think diversity will naturally come as we get more involved.
Thank you, Aaron. Anybody else? Okay. John, next question is for you. The theme is programming. What is your position on children's programming? Do you think we duplicate services already in Reston?
Well, my position on programming is I'm in favor of it. Obviously, I spent all these years working with different groups in town. One of the things that I would like to see the Reston Association continue to do, and one of the things I've volunteered to do, is work on the the Sports Council, is bringing people together, understanding what different communities are. We have different programs for seniors. We have traditional athletic programs. We have swimming programs. We need to, again, bring those people together and share resources, understand what one group needs, what other people might not need. But in terms of duplication, I don't think we should necessarily be competing with other businesses that provide similar services.
Thank you. Yes, Colin?
That's probably the main platform on which I'm running, so I certainly feel I'm at least somewhat uniquely qualified to comment on that. There's going to naturally be some duplication, and it's the board's job as stewards of Reston's budget to do the due diligence and really determine where duplication can be avoided and where there may be some duplication necessary. I'll use before and after school care as a prime example. The RA dabbled in that business for a short period of time, decided it wasn't for them, but there's still a multiple year waiting list after school for SAC care and before school as well. So the need is certainly there. It's the board's job to determine, by talking to the community, what the priorities should be in terms of children's programming.
Thank you, Colin. Sridhar?
Some of these things are really hard. RA should be providing programming that it is uniquely positioned to provide. We can't be all things to all people. We can't be competing with the private sector providers that we have. For example, John is doing baseball training. Should RA be doing baseball training, right? So we should be thinking about what's available in Reston and focus on what only we can do. Whatever we do has to be financially viable. This after-school care, the Fit Kids program that we looked at Lake House, was one of those tough decisions. Because last year, the programming was there. We found that it was underperforming from a financial perspective. Essentially, we had about 18, 19 families that were benefiting from it. And if we did not do it this year, if we did it this year, we would have potentially had a $6 increase in assessment for all of the 21,053 member households. So you have to, as a board, it's a hard decision. You have to see, does it make sense to do it, right? And those are the things that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you need to think about.
Your time's up, Sridhar. I'm sorry. Yes, Ben?
Yes, so programming is an integral part of the Reston community. I have known many families that moved to Reston because of the programming that it offers. For example, last year, closing down pools for some hours was on the table, but the members have clearly spoken that they do not want that, and I think it's important to listen to them as it is part of our core amenities. One of Bob Simon's principles, which is not often talked about, is to be financially viable, and that is also to be kept in mind while having any programming. And one of the important things is to keep special interest groups out of campaigning and lobbying for programming that is specific to them, because there can be nonprofits, but they the officers of the corporation still draw a salary from it. So we have to make sure that the interests are for the entire Reston population, not for special interest groups.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Travis.
Yeah, I spend a great deal of time with children's programming. We do Reston Soccer, which I think starts in a couple of weeks. We do Young Actors Theater for pretty much every weekend, for several months out of the year. And in the summertime, my family spends, I don't get the chance to, but my family gets to spend a lot of time at the pools. But when it comes to these types of programming, I have the same principles that I have for any type of programming. Do what makes sense for the widest group of people, and don't duplicate what other organizations are doing. I prefer to reach out to existing organizations and partner with them rather than start our own business. I just think it makes more sense for us to do that than it does for us to start new programming.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Yes, Aaron.
So having taken 4 children through all of the swim meets and swimming lessons and tennis lessons and all those sorts of things, I'm really grateful for all the programming that we do, especially for the children. We should definitely make sure that whatever we do, we can't do everything, like was mentioned. We need to make sure that whatever we do very well. And I think that will be the key to being successful. That way we can balance what we can provide with maintaining being financially viable, which is one of Reston's core principles, is that let's make sure that we're not doing anything halfway. Let's either do it or put it on the back burner if there's not enough demand for it. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, anybody else? All right, Colin. Let's see. This is about campaigning. Are you running in concert with any other candidate, and if so, why or why not? Do you have any allies on the present board?
I am not running in concert with anyone else, nor do I have any allies on the present board. I think I've outlined the reasons why I'm running, to represent families and, to fight for programming, particularly as it applies to children's programming. Short answer is no. I'm running for me and my family.
Okay. Would anyone else like to respond to this question? Derek?
No, I am just myself. My campaign advisor is my girlfriend April. She's watching right now. Hi. No, all of my pamphlets, went to the library and printed them up myself. I have no connections with anyone here. Just here to serve Reston. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Oh, Sridhar.
Yep. Okay, Travis, you want to talk? All right, yeah. I've lived in Reston for a long time. I know a lot of people. But I have to say that except for Tammy, any of the others that I serve on the board with now, as well as on my slate, if I want to call it that, I did not know them for more than, maybe a year and a half back. I got to know some of them just within the last 1 year. So the point here is, a lot of us got together because we were either on the board, we got to the board, or because of Tetra. I got onto the board because of Tetra. I got to know of people because of Tetra. Sherry, for example, who got onto the board, I got to know her only a year back. Travis, just now. But essentially what we are doing when we are running together, there's 4 of us running together. Travis, Tammy, whom I've known for a bit of time, and John Bowman. And we are doing that, essentially sharing resources. At large, it's all of Reston. It helps to have other people campaigning for you as well and sharing the resources. That's all it is. We are like-minded.
Thank you, Sridhar.
Yep.
Anybody else? Yes, Travis.
Yeah, I'm running with some other folks, and I'm doing it for 2 reasons. One, because we look fantastic together on that grip card you've all seen. That's a really good photograph. And secondly, really because I'm proud to be. I'm working with Sridhar, who's been doing fantastic work on the board. And I'm working with John Bowman, who's also, I think, a great presence on the board and the kind of person that needs to be on a board. And Tammy Petrine, who has been an outspoken advocate on an issue that all of us have said is important, and that's that population cap increase. She's against it and wants to push against it. And basically, I'm running with them because I share their goals. we're sharing resources. I think that's a good thing, and I think more of us should be doing it.
Okay, thank you. Vin?
I'm running an independent and self-funded campaign, and the grassroots members in here can say that about themselves. In the past year, we have had only one failed motion by the board versus over 120 unanimous decisions. And that speaks to the groupthink mode that's happening within the board. And then you wonder why there are poor decisions by the board. It is due to that. When you have board members appoint other board members, and then those board members who are appointed by the board is now running with a slate of 4 for Reston, then you just count along with the slate of 3 that got on the board last year, you have an overwhelming majority, and the other 2 board members might as well stay at home. So I think it is important to understand that we have to bring in difference of opinion.
Ben, I'm sorry, your time's up. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, John.
I didn't consider this at all when I raised my hand and said I'd like to volunteer. I didn't even anticipate a campaign. But what I'm about to say has nothing to do with these gentlemen up here at all. What it has to do a lot is with my experience with Rescue Reston. Now, if you're going to run slates of candidates in the future, you're going to have full financial disclosure. That's an absolute essential. I can easily see Northwestern Mutual, who wants to take the golf course and put 6,000 homes in there, putting together a slate of candidates and giving them $30,000 to do anything they want to control the decisions that Reston Association makes as a result of that slate. And again, nothing, and I do mean this, nothing against the guys here. It's just something we have to look forward to in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, John. Okay. We're going to do one more question, then we're going to take a short break. So, Van, this one's for you. The topic is traffic and density. Are you concerned about the traffic ramifications from increases to population density? How do you propose to remedy this?
Okay, so I live near Lake Ann. It takes me over 20 minutes to get to the toll road in the morning and in the evenings. There are some patterns in traffic that we've passed in sense that infrastructure has not accompanied the growth. We have to take the message clear to Fairfax County that any proposed increased development should be accompanied by growth and infrastructure, and that currently the density increase that's proposed from 13 to 16 is definitely not going to be something we are going to be okay with. Because to begin with, it's not even 13. The county has used some dubious math to come to 13, but we need accompanying infrastructure, otherwise we are going to see worse traffic patterns. And it's going to decrease the quality for our living in this area. So we just cannot have that.
Thank you, Van. Sridhar?
So when I moved to Reston in 1998, this is one of the comments I've made to some of the people. I actually chose this place not just for the open space, the amenities, all those kinds of things, but also because of its traffic. Believe me, in 1998, the Fairfax County Parkway was not fully built up. It didn't run all along Reston. Reston Parkway was only 2 lanes, on both sides. Traffic still flowed through very easily. You all know what the situation today is. So the point here is, just by the addition of new units during this time from 1998 to now, as well as the transit area, the developments that we've had, we are now choked with the traffic that we have. Now just imagine we go from the 74,000 limit to 100,000, which is what we would go to from 13 to 16 persons per acre. Imagine the traffic that we're going to get, plus the transit area development. I think we really need to stop this bus until we really have the transportation puzzle resolved, in addition to other things.
Yes, Derek.
I leave for work every day at 4:30 in the morning, so my commute is wonderful. There's not a single person on the road. It's a big part of the county I think we could do some to fix that problem. I think a lot of the traffic in Reston is actually from red lights. We have 4, I remember, counting this, looking at the map before I came here, major roads crossing each other. A lot of the traffic is really just red lights. Major roads stopping to let the other major road keep going. I think a lot of stoplights could be retimed to keep the traffic actually flowing. That's the simplest solution. That would take a lot of work to work with the county and investigate where that can be fixed. Also, even investigate with the county making overpasses to prevent major roads from stopping for each other. The majority of our congestion isn't so much the cars as the red lights. That's my take on that.
Thank you, Derek. Colin?
Well, so Reston's going to continue to grow, and at least in the near term, until we have self-driving cars, traffic is going to be an issue. But I think in order to lessen traffic, part of a lot of it is Fairfax County, but it's incumbent on the board to work with the county to legislate behavior. If you want people to drive less and you want less cars on the road, make it less convenient to drive. As we're building new developments, include fewer parking spaces, improve public transportation, more buses, better pathways from the metro, which is not ideally placed in the middle of the Dulles Toll Road, but make it easier for people to get from the metro to places they want to be, and make it harder for them to drive. We can work with the county on that.
Okay, thank you. Travis?
This is actually one of the issues that got me to run in this race. I heard about the population cap increase, and my first thought was, what is it going to do to my commute? Because the longest part of my day after I drop my daughter off at school is from South Lakes Shopping Center to the Wheelie Metro exit, and which isn't a very great distance. And I work in Tysons, but the longest part of my commute is that little stretch right there. And I just know that it's going to be even worse when we double the amount of people who live here. And one of the first things I thought we should do is have a lifestyle assessment. We've done economic assessments, impact assessments, we've done environmental impact assessments. I think we should do lifestyle impact assessments. And that assessment should include a set of potential solutions for how we address things like traffic issues. And, like Colin just talked about, that set of solutions should include ways to use public transportation a lot more efficiently.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to respond to this question? Well, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. Thank you all. I'm sure you would like to take a little break also, but for all of you in the audience,
Excuse me.
Okay, we have a few more questions and a little bit more time, so we're going to get as many of these that I have in my hands in as we can and still leave time for the closing remarks. So Derek, we're back to you. This is about Parks and Recreation. How can RA convince Fairfax County to provide more funding and facilities for growth rather than sending money to other parts of the county?
You got me on a good question. Being that it involves the county, obviously, rest association matters, and our voices, the board's voice needs to be heard by the county. It also involves everyone going to the supervisor. It's at the county level, we need to also engage with the county supervisor. Community pressure, that's how you get things done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sridhar.
So this is a problem. This has been a long-standing problem. For us, we have a small tax district that we pay into. It's a tax, collection that through the real estate taxes the county collects, and then we get to pay for Western Community Center because that small tax district assessment actually goes for RCC, and then we still pay user fees. Other places like McLean, Oakton, they all have county-operated rec centers. Reston doesn't have it. Reston is one of the biggest contributors to the county from a tax perspective, and we don't get anything back. FCPA has one or two of these facilities, and that's really for county-wide use. It's not for Reston alone use. So what we really need is for the county to focus, FCPA particularly, the County Parks Authority, to focus on Reston, return more of the money to us. I think that's very important. It's been long in coming. And I really hope that that's going to happen with the Reston Town Center North Rec Center development. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Sridhar. Anybody else want to respond? Ben?
Yes. Did you know that commercial properties that are part of RA covenant do not pay? I'll start that again. Did you know that commercial properties that are part of RA covenants do not pay any assessments? Well, why is this important? Because commercial properties pay real estate taxes, business taxes, business tax on world income. So the reason this is important because there are all these commercial properties that are part of RA that use our services in some manner and benefit from landscaping, snow removal, but they don't contribute anything in terms of monies to Reston coffers. And I think we need to take that up because that will show Fairfax County that those commercial properties that contribute to them are because Reston is right now so developing and is contributing from all the commercial development as well.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else like to respond to this question? Okay. Yeah, yes, John?
That's come up quite a bit in the past 5 years relative to the golf courses. And I think the essential thing to do, and I know the RA staff has had somewhat of a difficulty doing this, but you have to really sit down with the Park Authority and understand what their priorities are. There was lots of conversation about, if the Park Authority wanted to take over the golf course. Well, they didn't want to do that. And we're back and forth on this issue, but I think we need to constantly communicate with that. Bill Bowie, who's the chairman of the Fairfax County Park Authority, is a former director of one of the recreational leagues here, and I know he's sensitive to these issues because he spent a lot of time building the parks and recreation here. But we need to really stay together on those issues and listen to what they need, and they need to listen to what we need.
Thank you, John. Travis, yes.
I think there are three things that we need to do. First, to understand what our members need as far as this goes. And again, we talked before about doing focus groups, polls, things along those lines to understand what members really want. And then we've got to do two additional things. We've got to build relationships with the Park Authority, and then we've got to push from an electoral standpoint again, and as a board, to use that bully pulpit that we have to get the members of the association to stand up and loudly say get their point across and get the people that they want elected.
Thank you, Travis. Nobody else? Okay, we're going to go on to the next question. This is for you, Sridhar. Are the Tetra purchase, cost overrun, and failed usage plans still important? Why or why not?
Absolutely important, because that is the one that's shown to us all the different problems that existed within Western Association, the process failures, the internal control failures. There was no contract for this overrun. I don't know how many people know that. The signed value was $275,000. We ended up spending $430,000 more. There were contract change orders without a contract in place. Nobody can find a contract. So there were really strong issues that came out of the Stone Turn report, as well as some of the recent, member presentations that we've seen. So I think it's extremely important. We can't just move on. We need to address that. We've started addressing some of those things starting last April. When the staff started working on something, then I got on the board, really went into it deep. Today we have a structure that is very different. You cannot do a contract about $25,000 without bringing it to the officers of the board or the full board. So now, previously, there was no contract. So there are...
Thank you, Sridhar. All right, Travis.
I do think it's extremely important. It's still important because it's emblematic of the mismanagement of the RA. We paid more than $1 million. We paid more than $1 million more than the property was worth when we bought that. That's ridiculous. When they made the purchase, they did it with no real plan in mind. And then when they eventually did come up with a plan, they didn't do any market analysis. So we ended up, only serving 19 families out of however many families we have in Reston who could potentially have used it. I just think it was a bad plan. It's emblematic of the mistakes that were made by the RA. But I think, as a member of the board, the first thing that we need to do is just say, well, we own it. We can't keep complaining about what happened before. We own it. So what we need to do is make the best of it, and we'll work on a plan on how best to use the property.
Thank you. Yes, Derek. Sorry, Ben.
At the end of the day, that's the past. That was a lot of money that was wasted when I read the story behind it, and it should be looked into. Reston Association members deserve answers. That was your assessments. That was your money that was wasted by mismanagement. But at the end of the day, we need to move forward and forget about what happened and just keep moving and not let it happen again. Make the best, like he said, make the best of what happened. Make the best out of that property.
Thank you, Derek. Ben?
RA continues to insist that the Tetra review by Stone Turn was forensic analysis, and that is simply not true. And that is told by the chair of the Tetra Review Committee, where $45,000 was spent on the Stone Turn review for a 30-page report that was devoid of any culpability, law-breaking, or conflict of interest. And members found it to be 15 recommendations that were found in an HOA manual, as one member reported, that was available in the Reston Library or available on Amazon for $16.95. So when you imagine the Tetra fiasco and what the Stone Turn report provided us, it did not help us give closure, which is what is required for us to move on.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else? Okay. Next up is Aaron. I think this is probably going to be the last question, depending on how many people want to respond to it. But how would you promote real collaboration without groupthink on the board?
That's a great question. Real collaboration is something that's hard to come up with because everyone's independent. We have to market it well, and we have to entice people to come and collaborate with us. I think Ven said it well, that if there's a lot of unanimous decisions, then it's time to take a step back and think, are we approaching this well? When you see some dissenting votes, then you know you've heard all the viewpoints. If everybody's thinking the same thing and it's too easy, that's time to step back and get a get a group together and do a working group and see if you can gather some more diversity of ideas and opinions, because that's the only way you'll find the best ideas.
Sridhar.
So my experience on the board during the last 8 months is that, for many of the issues, whether it is after-school care or budget-related issues, capital projects, very often the board members, whom, by the way, most of them I didn't know, like I said earlier, right, very well, we were aligned in some ways because we had similar kinds of outlook on some things, but we still did not agree necessarily on the issues when we started out. But I can tell you this, over a period of time, once I explained my rationale, they talked to me about their rationale, right? If you go back and look, this is all on record. You can go and look at the YouTube videos and the votes. The people that initially started out saying no, they actually finally came around to being a unanimous vote. So unanimous vote itself, by itself, doesn't say that there is no difference of opinion. It's really the way I look at it. And you can go back and look at the YouTube videos of the board meetings. And that's you'll find that surprisingly often. And we are not on the same slate, I can tell you that.
Thank you. Is that Colin?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm running because I think there needs to be new voices on the board, and the key to that really is getting more people involved in the political process. I think everybody has a pet issue or two that have really inspired them to get involved. For me, it's children's programming. For others, it's budget use. But the key really is to get out in the community and get more people out to the board meetings so that it's not the same faces at every meeting, and you don't get that groupthink mentality. At the same time, though, there does need to have a level of pragmatism and the ability to listen to other members and Fairfax County and consider all positions. But I think it needs to start with the diversity of opinion.
Thank you, Colin. Ben.
The voting majority and groupthink mode within the board is evident from the $2.42 million of members' reserve money that was used to pay off a 3.35% interest rate Lake House loan. And it was a unanimous decision, and it was a rushed decision without any due diligence. Just weeks before, the directors who were appointed by the board, and along with other slate of candidates, are now running again for election. So you mean to say that this board will spend $50,000 and a year's time to study a rec area, but they won't spend any time to study a $2.42 million decision? This is the type of poor decisions that we as a membership do not deserve. So I will be respectful and I will work with the board members using facts, compassion, and logic, but absolutely we got to stop this groupthink mode.
Thank you, Ben. Travis.
I think we can avoid groupthink with one word: respect. We respect each other's opinions. We don't all have to come into a discussion with the same opinion, but we all have to have respect for the process of conversing, of sharing information, and being persuadable. I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day. You can be persuasive and be persuadable. You have to have the open mind to receive information and be willing to give information. And I think, if that unanimous votes don't only tell half of the story. They don't tell how you got to that vote. You could have spent, hours, days rambling over an issue, and then at the end of the day, you came to a uniform conclusion. And I think that shows that your process works. It doesn't necessarily show that there's any kind of groupthink.
Thank you, Travis. Derek.
Genuine collaboration is working with people you genuinely disagree with. Really good collaboration will come from community pressure, working with board members you disagree with. But in my mind, when I think of a slate of 4 members running together that all agree with each other and sponsor and openly endorse each other, I just see 4 people patting themselves on the back. That doesn't serve Reston's interest. But that'll be for the community to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. John?
I think that perception has a lot to do with what we see and what we look at. And I think if we had the perception that we all approach one issue at a time independently, not as a board unit, but just individuals giving us opinion. In preparation for this, I spent 10 hours more probably with the senior leadership of the RA staff. I wanted to hear how they felt in relationship to the board, because the board works with the staff. And how we get things accomplished is by working that cohesive body in a way that shows respect there, too.
Thank you, John. Did we get everybody? All right, right on schedule. I like that. So we're nearing the end of the forum, and I would like to thank the audience for your insightful questions, and I would like to thank you, candidates, very much for your thoughtful answers and also for conducting this in a very dignified manner. I really appreciate that. If anyone in the audience has a question for the candidates that was not answered tonight, please feel free to email the candidate directly at the email addresses on the website. Go to www.reston.org and all the information is there. So the last order of business is for the candidates' closing remarks. You will each be given 1 minute to make your closing remarks. And Travis, you would have been up next, so I'm going to start with you. We'll go down to Ben, come back to Derek, and through Aaron.
So again, thank you. See, this is a collaboration that we're talking about. So again, thank you to the RA and to the election committee for hosting this. Thank you to all these great gentlemen who really obviously have Reston's best interest in mind for coming out today and making them, putting themselves really out on a limb for all of you. And for all of us, really. I want to serve Reston. I hope I've made a case for me to help serve Reston, and I appreciate your vote. That's really it. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. John.
Well, for those of you at home, well, congratulations if you've made it this far. On behalf of everyone here, we really appreciate your interest. Hopefully, you'll discover someone here who represents your values and your passion. Please don't forget to vote. It's really important. I hope we haven't told you what should be. Rather, we should create an environment that seeks your input and what do you want? What are your needs? In the beginning, I talked about an annual leadership summit. That's the vehicle how we can organize creative thought. I truly believe in that idea because it can serve that vehicle to unite the Reston spirit. We can learn from those conversations and understand each other a little bit better as we face the challenges for the future. Please visit my website. It's much easier to remember, johnpinkman.com.
Thank you very much, John. Colin?
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and for the elections committee for putting this on. I didn't come into this process, thinking I would be sitting here debating, but it's been a great experience, and so thank you, everybody, for your passion for Reston and for being out here, and thank you, everybody that's sitting up here for running. Everybody has an initiative or a reason that they're running, and they're all worthy initiatives. And mine is to be a voice on the board for the families and the children of Reston. And so as a board member, I'm always going to advocate for policies and for programs that benefit the families of Reston. That includes restoration of funding for children's programming and putting a priority on maintaining and improving our common areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Ben?
I want to stop the wasteful spending on projects members clearly have expressed that they do not want. I want to stop the unwarranted increases in assessment bills. I want to stop projects that are invasive on our neighbors and nature. And I will advocate member interests with Fairfax County. I'm running for the RA board because I believe that my positions on key issues are for the benefit of the entire Reston community. I'm running again this year because my message was vetted and supported in large numbers by the members of the Reston community, and I believe I have a duty to follow. Together, we will advocate our interests with RA and Fairfax County, and that is the only way the Reston way of life will prevail. You can learn more at veniyer.com and facebook.com/vote4ven, and I hope you participate in these important elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Vin. Derek?
Thank you all for coming on a Monday night. It's pretty awesome. Thank you anyone listening. Participation is what makes things happen in Reston, what makes Reston Association relevant. So stay involved and get your neighbor to be involved. I'm not entitled to anyone's vote. Don't expect to be. I just want to be Reston's advocate. Thank you for bearing with me. This is a really awkward experience. I've never been to a forum putting myself out here like that. But please vote. Tell your fellow Restonians to vote.
Thank you, Derek. Sridhar?
So I'm doing all this because I like Reston. I must be a masochist because I've been doing this for many, many years now. And I've served 8 months and I'm still willing to do this. So I must be a masochist. But anyway, the last 8 months working with the new board and the staff from the middle of last year has been really, really good. It has been a privilege and an honor for me. My nature is to roll up my sleeves, dig into details, fix issues, get things done, and I believe I've demonstrated that in the last 8 months in a pretty strong way. I've shaped and led the implementation of processes, controls, and I want to finish what I started 8 months ago so that we don't have a repeat of Tetra. I would like to keep this new boards with, the board that I joined, the momentum, for change going. I want to reinforce rigor in planning, programs, capital projects, so that we have sound analysis before we actually make decisions. So I ask for your vote. Would very much appreciate your vote to continue and in the 3-year at-large seat. Thank you all once again.
Thank you.
And I wish
Aaron?
the candidates the best.
Thanks again for coming out, and thanks for organizing and all the effort that went in behind all this. Reston's such a wonderful place. This is a very exciting thing to be part of, to be up here with these other great gentlemen and the other candidates that get to do this tomorrow night. Come back and listen to the wonderful things that they have in store for Reston. I'm running because Reston's a wonderful place. I want to be part of that. I want to contribute. I want to be thoughtful in my service on the board. I want to take the principles that have sustained Reston and continue to implement them. And Reston can continue to be a wonderful place. Make sure you vote. Tell all of your friends, all of your neighbors, all of your enemies, everyone else to also vote. It starts 7 days from now, especially if you get it via an email. I'm Aaron Webb, and I approve this message.
That's a nice one.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming this evening, and hopefully you all have a better sense of who these 7 gentlemen are. Ballots for the election will be mailed or emailed out on Monday, March 5th, based on the communication preference you have reported to Reston Association. As a reminder, election ballots are due back on Monday, April. Members can vote either by mail or online. Replacement ballots, this is important. If you need a replacement ballot, you can get one by calling 610-935-6170. Could I have your attention, please? Or sending an email to restonelection@intelliscaninc.com. That information will also be on your ballot. Thank you all, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
You did a good job. Thank you. Very professional. Thank you.
Yes.